So hi everyone, welcome back. So in the previous video we have learned about the first two aspects of present and past tenses, and in this video we will be continuing remaining two aspects of present and past tenses. If anybody have missed the previous class, the video link will be in the description box and you can watch it. So let's start today's class. We are now going to look at the present perfect tense. We make the present perfect with a subject plus have or has plus a verb in the past participle or V3 form. We say have if the subject is I, you, we or they, and has if the subject is he, she or it. For example, I have taught English to many students. Ashley has visited France 4 times. We have seen 2 movies this week. The present perfect tense has 2 main uses. These sentences show the first use to talk about experiences. Sentence number 1 is about my experience in my teaching career. Of course, I am still a teacher. So my career is not finished, it's continuing. We can say I have taught English to many students in my career. But that's not necessary, it's understood. Similarly, Ashley has visited France 4 times in her life. So the time period here is Ashley's life, which is still continuing. In the third sentence, the time period is this week. Maybe today is Wednesday, so this week is not finished. We might see another 2 movies before the end of the week. So in these sentences, the time period is continuing or ongoing. My career, Ashley's life, and this week. But if the time period is finished, we just use the past simple tense as we learned before. I taught many students when I was a teacher. In this sentence, my career is over. It means I am not a teacher now. I was for some time. During that time, I taught many students. But then I quit the line for work and became a pop singer. Ashley visited France in 2015. 2015 is in the past. We saw 2 movies last week. Again, last week is gone. So this is the first use of the present perfect to discuss experiences in continuing, ongoing time period. The second use is to talk about recent actions or events. For example, I have finished my homework. You can imagine a kid saying this to her mom. Well, when did she finish her homework? Maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes ago. But that's not important. The important thing is the completion of the homework. You see this on the timeline now. The girl finished her homework just a few minutes ago, but she is not saying the specific time because it's not necessary. That's why there is a question mark, no mention of the time. Here is another sentence. Arthur has lost his glasses. We don't say when, because the important thing is that now Arthur does not have his glasses. One more example. The police have arrested a young man in connection with the robbery. So there was a robbery in the neighborhood recently, and now the police have a young suspect in custody. The exact time of the arrest is not important. In all of these sentences, if you want to mention the specific time, you should use the past simple tense. I finished my homework at 6:30 p.m. Arthur lost his glasses at the party. The party was maybe last weekend, so this is all old news. The police arrested a young man last night in connection with the robbery. So remember that there are two main uses of the present perfect tense: to talk about experiences and to talk about recent events. Alright, now let's move on to the next tense, the present perfect continuous. We make the present perfect continuous tense with a subject plus have or has been plus a verb in a continuous or ing form. If the subject is I, you, we or they, we use have. If the subject is he, she or it, we use has. For example, I have been waiting to see the doctor for 2 hours. You can imagine this lady saying that. So it means that she came to the clinic maybe at 5 o'clock and now it's 7 o'clock. She started waiting at 5. 2 hours have now passed and she is still waiting. So the present perfect continuous tense talks about an action that started in the past and is still continuing. In this sentence, we can also say, I have been waiting since 5 p.m. The difference between for and since is that for talks about the amount of time, like 2 hours. Since is used to mention the starting point of the action, like 5 p.m. Here is another sentence. He has been playing tennis since he was a child. He started when he was little, maybe when he was 5 years old, and he still plays tennis. Let's say he is 25 now, so he has been playing tennis for 20 years. A few more examples. She has been learning English for 8 months or since last October. We have been living in this town for a very long time or since 1980. It has been raining all morning or since 4 a.m. Now here the duration is all morning. In fixed phrases like all morning, all day, all week, etc., we don't use for. But you can say since 4 a.m. if you want to mention the starting point. I want to alert you to a common mistake here. If you say I am waiting to see the doctor for 2 hours or he is playing tennis since he was a child, those are not correct. You can say right now I am waiting to see the doctor or he is playing tennis. But when you mention the amount of time like 2 hours or when you mention the starting point like since he was a child, you must use the present perfect continuous tense. This is true with the other sentence here as well. So keep this point in mind. Alright, so this is the present perfect continuous tense. Let's move on to the next tense, the past perfect. Before we talk about this tense, take a look at this past simple tense sentence. When we got to the theater, the movie started. There are two past action here. Got to the theater, which means we arrived there, and the movie started. You can see in the timeline that we got to the theater first, and then right after that, the movie started playing. But what about this sentence? When we got to the theater, the movie had started. That means the movie started before we got to the theater. So the movie started first, then we arrived. This is the past perfect tense. We make it with a subject plus had plus a verb in a past participle or V3 form. When we have two actions in the past, we use a past perfect to clearly show which action happened first. Here is another example. I was sick because I had eaten too much the previous night. Two actions, I was sick and I had eaten too much the previous night. Which happened first? I had eaten too much food that the next day I was sick. Next example. The girl looked very familiar. I had seen her somewhere before. First, I had seen her somewhere before, maybe a few years before. So, she looked very familiar. Joel rushed to his boss's office, but she had gone home already. She, meaning the boss, had gone home already. So when Joel rushed to see her, she was not there. As you can see, the past perfect tense is really easy. Just remember that when we have two past actions, we use the past perfect. If you want to clearly indicate which happened first, we do this to avoid confusion in the order of events. Alright, let's turn to our next tense now. This is the past perfect continuous. This tense is just like the past perfect simple, except the first past action is continuous. For example, I felt really tired because I had been driving all day. So you know that I felt tired at some point in the past. And that was because before that I had been driving that entire day. So the earlier past action was a continuous one. We make this tense with a subject plus had been plus a verb in the continuous or ing form. Here is another sentence. She had been waiting for 2 hours when the doctor finally arrived. Remember that the lady who was waiting for the doctor, well, the doctor came, so her waiting ended. But before that point, she had been waiting for 2 hours. Here, the past perfect continuous form comes first in the sentence. But that's okay. Some more examples. The ground was wet because it had been raining. It had been raining first, and so the ground was wet. When he quit his job at the factory, he had been working there for 12 years. So remember that the past perfect continuous tense is used to talk about the continuous action in the past before another finished action. Alright, it's time now for another review. We are going to do a quick comparison of the 4 perfect tenses we have looked at so far. I have washed the dishes is in the present perfect tense. It focuses on the completion of the action and does not mention the exact time. But you understand that I finished washing the dishes maybe just a few minutes ago. I have been washing the dishes for half an hour is in the present perfect continuous tense. It means that I have not finished washing them yet. I started half an hour ago and I am still doing it. When I left for work, I had washed the dishes. Here, I had washed the dishes is in the past perfect tense. It means that first I finished washing them and after that I left for work. When the phone rang, I had been washing the dishes for half an hour. So the phone rang at some point in the past. Half an hour before that, I started washing the dishes. And I was still doing that when the phone rang. So I stopped, wiped my hands dry, and I went to answer the phone. Alright, now we move on to talk about the future in the next class. So that's all in this video, and in next video we will be learning about future tense. So let's see in next video.